Holy crap, that's intimidating. Oh, fantastic.
Did you download your PowerPoint?
It wasn't a PowerPoint, I just put it in pictures. Alright, see what happens.
Over here.
You have to raise it because I'm a giant.
That's just an ending.
We good to go?
Yes.
Awesome. Alrighty. Everybody, I would like you to meet a man named Larry Nettles. Larry Nettles has been homeless since the beginning of January of this year, and I met him right after he became homeless because he was in jail for a few years regarding a crime that he had committed. He hung out with his friends and stayed in a tent city in the downtown area of Jacksonville in the woods to make sure that he stayed out of trouble. In May of this year, he was actually kicked out of the woods, him and his friends, by the cops because they're not supposed to be sleeping there. And he was left without his tent, his backpack, and his cell phone. And he had a lot of questions and not a lot of answers or resources to be able to figure out what in the world he was supposed to do. Along with Larry, there are 2,500 other individuals in the city of Jacksonville who are homeless today. That's a great need, and there are a lot of things that these homeless individuals like to talk about but have nothing to say because their voice is kind of muted. So I'd like to speak on behalf of them because I get the opportunity every week to go behind Trinity Rescue Mission and serve coffee and breakfast to these individuals, and they talk to me about these things. But I would like to give you an educated speech on what is happening in the city of Jacksonville in regards to homelessness. There are three main things that I'm going to discuss in this topic. There are the factors contributing to homelessness, funding distributed to the homeless through nonprofits, and the solutions to the issue of homelessness in the city of Jacksonville. Before I go any further in regards to discussing this topic, I would like to define homelessness for you. According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, homelessness is an individual who lacks a fixed or regular residence or stays in a public or private place not designated for regular sleeping residence. There are three main causes of homelessness in the city of Jacksonville, and these can also be implemented across the United States. But again, I'm focusing on this city. There's a lack of affordable housing, underemployment and unemployment, and a lack of a safety net for individuals in Jacksonville. The lack of affordable housing, according to the 2003 Ending Homelessness in Jacksonville report, says that this is the #1 cause for why an individual may become homeless. And the 2012 Council on Homelessness report states that even on the maximum supplemental security income benefit for a one-bedroom apartment would not be enough money to cover the cost of an individual looking to seek residence in a place. And that is $716 a month. Because there isn't affordable housing due to funding, this brings me to my next point, which is high unemployment or underemployment. Felicia Christian, who's the executive director of the Homeless Coalition in Jacksonville, indicates that 60% of the homeless have issues with unemployment. And the 2012 Council on Homelessness report states that families who have lost their job make up the vast majority of the people who are homeless in the city. Because they don't have a place to stay, they become isolated with where they're at. This means that they have a lack of support system. In 2003, there was a blueprint for the future that was put together by the local Homeless Coalition of Jacksonville to try and end homelessness by 2013. They were not successful in this mission, but there have been great strides that have been made. However, there's a lack of a support system that is available to them. Dr. Jeffrey Will, who's a sociology professor here in Jacksonville and also the director of the Northeast Florida Center for Community, explains that support is an integral piece of solving the homelessness puzzle. He states that it's much like being a college student. And as college students, we probably can all relate to some of our friends who may be addicted to alcohol or drugs and may not even have a place to stay. But because of people like us who are their friends and also their families in their city, they're able to stay afloat. This is not so for people who are homeless. They're isolated with where they're at and they have no one to turn to. Next, I would like to discuss the issue of funding. Funding across the United States is no small task, and in Jacksonville it's no different. Point-in-time counts are conducted every year between the last week of January and the first week of February to figure out how many homeless are in a particular county or city. Based on how many homeless are in their city, funding is given then to those localities to make sure that they have the proper money to end homelessness in their city, or at least maintain it for that matter. Aid is dispersed on local, state, and federal levels. But because I'm focusing on the city of Jacksonville, I will only talk about the grant that is given by the city government. The public service grant was started in the early 2000s to make sure that the process of giving funds to the homeless was not a political one. Here is a graph talking about the funds given to the homeless, or given to nonprofits for the homeless from 2004 to 2012. This information can be a bit intimidating, so I put it into a more simple graph that discusses the amount of homeless population with the red bar and the number, or the amount of money that is given in that particular year with the blue bar. As you can see, that regardless of the amount of money that's given, it still seems like the city of Jacksonville is unable to get below 2,500 individuals who are homeless in the city. So that begs the question, what can we do to make sure that homelessness is effectively ended in the city? There are two theories to solving homelessness across the United States, and they apply here for the city of Jacksonville as well. The first is multi-level government communication. According to the 2012 homelessness report from the Council of Homelessness, collaborative leadership is required to end homelessness in the city. The Office of Program Policy Analysis and Government Accountability also states that local entities must pick up the mantle to ensure that this process takes place. The second theory regarding this issue is greater accountability for the allocation of funds. Lots of money is given to the localities and nonprofits looking to cater to the homeless, but there's not as much accountability to see where these funds go. Felicia Christian says that the day center that was built by the bus stop in downtown Jacksonville would have not become a reality if it wasn't for proper allocation of funds. This shows that the resources that are available to the homeless are directly correlated to the accountability that is given for the funds that are distributed to the different cities. If greater accountability and communication were given, many more services would also be able to be provided. As I conclude, let me review my main points. There are three main causes of homelessness in the city of Jacksonville, which are affordable housing, unemployment, and a safety net. The funding process, though it is not perfect, it still has work to do, and it's been effective in maintaining the number of homeless people who are in the city of Jacksonville and across the United States. And there are multiple solutions to end this problem across the U.S., but there must be greater accountability and communication to make sure that this happens. Homelessness is a prominent issue, and this community must be informed on what is happening and the priorities, processes, and problems regarding this issue. You guys remember Larry that I mentioned at the beginning of my speech? Well, 2 weeks after everything was taken from him, he went to a local church, a local Episcopalian church, and went to the pastor with his needs. The pastor was then able to hook him up with a nonprofit organization which gave him housing, food, and the proper job skills in order to become an active member of society again. Larry got baptized, and I was able to go to his baptism, but he is now working, and he's already become a manager at his place of employment, and he has 3 roommates, and he's able to live on his own. So it is situations like these that give me a true optimism for the future, regardless of the dire need that is in the city of Jacksonville regarding homeless. Thank you. Oh my. Did I hit stop recording?